All right, guys, as I said to you in the classroom, there are 5 elements to the performance assessment or the practical assessments which you'll do either Thursday or Friday this week. It's extremely important to understand that the first element is hazard inspection and control as is necessary for you to take action for any hazards. One of the reasons I choose to start at this area here is because we're actually now on our way out to conduct the first element. All right, anybody got any questions? All right, we'll probably leave them until the end, okay? Any questions before we start though? All right, good, fantastic. All right, as you can see, I'm approaching a door. This gives me some triggers to say, all right, doors, what about doors? They're a part of a building and people use these doors. Let's go. As we walk out the building, we can see we're surrounded by buildings, obstructions, another building in front of us. So one of the issues about hazards in the workplace, every workplace is completely different, all right? So we've got some foliage down here if we were using an off-road forklift. All right, we'd have to be aware of any surrounding rough terrain, etc. Again, buildings to the left and to the right. We have a pit here, but we're not necessarily going to operate our forklift up this way, but we'll continue straight down and we'll look down here. As I look down this row here, we can see motor vehicles parked. So those vehicles could take off at any particular time. Although we do have sufficient barriers around us, the vehicles aren't likely to come into our forklift area. We've got some bollards here to protect pedestrian activity. We have a roadway over there as well. Keep scanning around the floor area here or the ground, more foliage and a pit. Something that you need to be really cautious of. If you come out here and turn incorrectly, you could end up on that pit, which isn't rated. All right. We also have signs telling us we must wear our high-vis clothing and there are forklifts operating in this shed. Roll the door here, all the way up. Fantastic. All right, anybody got any questions at this stage? No? Good. Let's go into the shed. One thing to be aware of though, guys, is you could have a unique hazard or a special hazard in your work environment. We've got a couple here. We've got the motorsport shed there. So we've got quite fast cars operating in our vicinity at times, and I'll point out the test track shortly. And in very hot conditions, we have snakes. And we have earth moving equipment operate here, and that disrupts the snakes. So be conscious of that. All right, let's go in the shed. Alrighty, now my preferred method of starting this, guys, is I start here at this particular point and I start at ground level. You can choose to start it any way you wish. Alright, so from ground level, you coming in or what? He'll cut you out. Okay. As I look along the floor here, I've got a marked area which clearly indicates it's a pedestrian exclusion zone with barriers intact. I've got obstructions with the chairs. If they're not fully away, I'd have to address that. Continue down, rubbish bins. There's some other equipment down the end, and I can see some racking down there. I look out, I've got forklifts in the middle of the floor, so other equipment could be potentially operating. I look down there, we have a truck outside. And beyond the truck, we have the test track. The test track is a unique hazard to this environment. I continue to scan around at a low level now. I've got some obstructions on the floor which we'll deal with at the end of this. All right, and I'll explain how we deal with that. A blind corner with this large box. Continue around batteries, akin to dangerous goods. A fire extinguisher here, and again another doorway. Sorry, Jason. I come back, now I take my eye level up to my normal looking position. I can see power boards, computer systems and electrical cabinets. That would indicate that there is electricity, overhead stuff, overhead services. I scan along, I can see motorcycles, so other equipment in our area. Continue along, we've got some wall markings, some signs, the first aid sticker on the grey cabinet down there, Again, I'm now looking at the racking at another level, and the racking is nice and secure. No damage to it. The loads seem to be secure. Continue to scan. The loads have got weights marked on them, so that is important to understand the weights. Continue to scan around. And more fire equipment here. And again, I've come back to where I started from. Another sign here. Now I go to high level. Quite a good high shed, so we're not going to necessarily have any problems, but some sheds are not high, or as high as this, so we'd have to have an awareness. The roller door is all the way up, is a good example. The blue airlines, all right, that's a compression thing. Continue on, again looking at the racking and any other overhead things, such as loads are secure in the area. And I start to move now, guys. I start to move, and I'm moving around to look at any other particular hazards. Oh, again, starting at ground level. People wandering through the incorrect door. Excellent. All right, so what are we going to do? We would stop our machine operating. We've got other equipment over near the dangerous goods cylinders. The gas cylinders are dangerous goods. And we've got some equipment on the floor. So we'll take action with that now. So if I couldn't remove this particular hazard, what would I do? And a good example of that would be this hazard here. We'll put a barricade around it. For this particular hazard, we'll move it out of our area. It can be put out of this area here, so we've got sufficient room to operate our forklift. And the last hazard that we'll deal with is we'll close these gates. Now you'll notice we're now on this side of the gates, then the side we're going to work on, and shortly I'll transition on to the inspection of the forklift, but we'll have a bit of a look around, make sure there's no particular hazards in our area. So there's some more equipment down here on the floor, some pallet jacks. So those people that just walk through, they may be coming to get some of this equipment. So we have to have that awareness of other things in our area. A nice big dust storm down here. All right, again, that's down at that racetrack or the four-wheel drive track, which is over to our right. Lots of other vehicles over here. A fire approaching us. I don't know if you're going to get that. But we have to have an awareness of all that surrounds us. Look down here, dangerous goods there again, and more equipment. All right, guys, has anybody got any questions about the hazards?